Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 182 of the F.Reality Podcast. We've got some spicy VR news to share with you this week. We discussed two brand new products from HTC, the 3.0 trackers and the Vive facial tracker. I talk about Shadow declaring bankruptcy and what this means for the streaming service going forward. The Oculus Quest 120Hz mode is delayed, and Oculus are hosting a developer talk at GDC next week. And Nathan and I give you our hands-on impressions of the new standalone VR headset called the XRSpace Manova. To round up the show, Zim has got some new releases for you to look forward to next week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight of the week. Also, let us know what you played in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. First up, this guy's back, and back with a vengeance. Last week, he was shopping for Lambos and mansions. After his autobiography, The Adventures of Jim Barnaby went straight to the top of the book charts. It's VR streamer. It's Zim Top 5.
You love that book thing, don't you? You're gonna be pumping that for the next 6 months, aren't you, Mike?
I will.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep using it.
Oh man, it's been good. You're right. I've been doing lots of like social VR and stuff, and last week we had to. Basically, my big news is I've accepted a job in Canada, and so I will be moving into Rowdy's closet very shortly. Along with 4 other humans.
Much looking forward to that.
These guys have known for about a week or so, but I said I'd let you all know about that. It's going to be probably September by the time I'm in Canada, actually, so I'll keep you posted with all of that. This week, my VR highlight would be actually a little bit of kind of like old tech. I always like taking things you already have and then surprising yourself with like something new. Someone in my Discord had suggested that I try. He was like, well, you can't Bluetooth properly right now with Bluetooth headphones to the Quest directly, but like, why don't you just pair it with virtual desktop and your PC? And I actually have a little creative Bluetooth dongle that works like a virtual sound card, and it's low latency, and it goes well with my low latency headphones. So what I did was, part of what we were doing was clearing out old boxes and stuff like that in the room behind me, making a beautiful like corridor for VR. 2 players can play in there nicely now. And so I just went in there with my headphones and I went ripping into some old games with no latency in the audio, absolutely perfect feeling. One room over on 5 gigahertz on virtual desktop. So I went back into Half-Life Alyx for a bit, did some Medal of Honor, even went onto the multiplayer. It wasn't completely abandoned. I played against at least one other lad.
Wow.
It is pretty abandoned, and it was actually a bit sad to see because, again, being in there again and enjoying the detail and the scenes and the level design, just it's like a spear through the heart that all that hard work, kind of got flushed a bit. So, but other than that, it was really good. Just being like totally wireless with PC VR in a space. It's bigger than my office space here where I usually record and stream and stuff. So that was my fun bit for the week. Yeah.
Nice. Virtual desktop for the win.
Always.
So, next up, this lad has got some smooth moves in VR and loves to bust out a bit of Gangnam Style on the beach. It's our favorite Frisian. It's of course Nathy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah. No, I'm doing great. And do I again need to explain why you're saying this?
You don't have to.
Sometimes I feel like when Mike is doing, I have to explain myself because otherwise people get certain ideas. But
Sure.
No, we for this time we just keep it a little bit like we keep it as a
mystery.
Yeah, and then later you'll find out why Mike said this. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
mystery. Sounds good.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
So so first of all, one of my subscribers sent me a Baby Yoda.
Wow.
Yeah.
Grogu.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Here it is. So this is why you want to watch the video version, because then you can see how cute this Baby Yoda is, and he's my new
really
friend
real.
now.
He's very well dressed.
He is real.
Yeah.
This is the one and only one. And he makes sounds too. Here.
Go on. That doesn't sound like a
Yeah, that sounds
I don't think that's
like
what
an
Baby
adult
Yoda
feature. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it's a podcast too, right? So yeah. Well, it was just a Baby Yoda is hungry.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have very nice fans though, sending you gifts like that.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And so he sent me also some chocolate because he's from Der Schweiz. So it's very nice. And he's one of my longest subscribed, fans out there for over 4 years. And he just wanted to send something to just say, hey, thank you for all the stuff you do. So it's great. I didn't expect him to give this to me. I mean, I wanted a Baby Yoda for a long time, so this is great. Yeah.
And that's your highlight of the week. So you got a little mention there as well, which is nice.
Yeah. And next to that, I also played some VR stuff. I played this new demo from Oculus. You know, this tiny castles. Is that the name?
Tiny Castles. Yeah.
That is on App Lab. It's a hand tracking demo. I thought it was a fun experience, but it wasn't that mind-blowing to me. I thought it was cool, but I've seen better stuff from the indie devs. So still try it out because it's free. But I didn't think it was that special.
I thought the hands looked really great, though.
The hands look great. True.
And the interaction with the lever that you sort of
crank.
Crank. Good. Thank you very much, Tim. Crank. The lever that you crank. That was really cool. But the gameplay was a little bit lackluster, but hopefully they make a game out of this. It's going somewhere,
they should.
hopefully.
Like a strategy, top-down strategy game. I think it's a while ago we have seen some Brass Tactics or something else pop up. Maybe that could work with hand tracking.
Oh my god, I gotta say I mean, it sounds cool in concept, but being an RTS fan, it sounds like the micro would be so frustrating.
The micro movements.
Just like anytime you try to move a unit or pick something up and it just doesn't work perfectly, it's that it's just like when you had like thumbprint unlock, just coming into phones and it wouldn't work perfectly. Same thing with like the face unlock. Like it needs to be in that like 98+% for it to work. Thinking
about it as well, like you don't have that kind of tactile feedback like you do from a button push, or a trigger pull or a grip, from the controller. Yeah, I do think. Yeah, initially I was like, yeah, that's a really good idea, but then you think about it and you're like, oh, actually, maybe not.
It sounds cool on paper. It really does. And right. Maybe one day we'll have technology that'll make that really awesome because, when I remember when Zuckerberg mentioned it on stage, when Quest was coming out, they talked about the hand tracking and it's like, we want to get rid of the controllers one day, right? But how do you solve that lack of tactile thing? You probably just plug something into your brain, to be honest.
Well, I think for social, it works really well.
Yeah.
But maybe not gaming per se, unless it's super casual.
Exactly.
Super casual.
Super casual. Yeah, exactly. Well, that was nice.
Casual.
Yeah. You got some nice fans there, Nathie. Baby Grogu. Congratulations. So, next up, he's our resident bookworm and big brain of the group. He loves to teach us a thing or two about VR tech. It's the one and only Rowdy VR. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing great, and since we're talking about fans, I want to take a little bit of a moment to thank our fans as well, because last week I talked about the Stormlight archive, and quite a few people actually reached out to me since they really appreciated that suggestion, and they are actually like informing me on like a new. Kind of like some more information on the entire series as well, since there was, it's all part of like the bigger universe, which is called the Cosmere. So, giant nerd that I am, I managed to get some more books, and I'm fully invested into that. Thanks to the people watching or listening to our podcast.
I feel like we need like a regular Rowdy Book Corner segment of the show.
That'd be very cool to do that. Yeah. But my highlight of the week is actually something that I wish was in VR. We have that quite often, these kind of sections, I think. But I recently finished a bit of an older game. I think it was released in 2017. And the game was called What Remains of Edith Finch. Has any of you played that game?
Oh, I've heard of it.
Sounds very familiar,
It's a rather... I would say it's a short game. I think you can finish it in probably 2 hours, maybe even under that. But it's one of the games that I've come to like a lot, especially playing more VR. It's a very atmospheric kind of style, very slow-paced, but very well-done storytelling. And it really hits the nail, it had the nail on that one, just because it's so well done. You feel so at ease playing that game, or so at home. There's not a lot of stuff that is there's no action. It's not really adventure. It's really a story-driven experience.
It's like fantasy or space, or what is it?
So the story goes that a young girl visits her youth home back. She goes back because she wants to learn more about the story of her family. She's the only one who remains of her family, and she goes out to find out the story of every single family member. what happened to them and how it occurred. And it plays out by you opening diaries. You look at the diary and then you get transported kind of into the body of the person whose life you're then experiencing. It's very well done. They're very short segments. It's like the moment when you enter the home, the feeling I got immediately was like, oh, this feels like, like my old grandmother's home. Yet like, that little bit of dust, like with the light, like that it's like falling. It felt very well done. And I just don't understand why a game like that, especially because it's a rather short experience, I think it would fit really well on the Oculus Quest 2. That something like that hasn't been brought to the Quest platform or to the PC maybe as well. Yeah. Especially because I saw in 2019 it got released for the Nintendo Switch, which I found a rather strange platform then to go to, but then it didn't get to the Oculus Quest. Of course, development started in 2017. Well, the game got released in 2017, so when they started on the game development, there was probably not a lot of mention about an Oculus yet. So that's probably the reason why they haven't gone to it. But it's the visuals and the story-driven experience of that game is really something else. And it's currently on the Xbox Game Store, which is the way that I managed to play it because I have the Game Pass there as well. It's a very unique experience. I don't know if people have ever played like for example, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and even the title reminded me of that. The other thing is you inspired me to think about like a body swapping Quantum Leap game. I actually think that idea of having that in VR would be really cool. And I can't remember a VR game where you do like body swap more than 2 or 3 characters. Well,
the cool thing is that you swap with characters that have a wide variety of ages. So you go from very old to very young, and you get to experience the way that a kid looks at the world. You get to experience the way that an older person looks at the world. It's very weird. I can't describe it anywhere else, but very it captures you. Like I haven't been captured by a game like that in a very long time. I think To the Moon was one of those games that really captured me, which wasn't visual at all. But this game really plays on the feels and really manages to get you. And I know it has like a Vorpex profile, since I saw that Paradise Decay mentioned in the chat. But I'm not the biggest fan of playing games like that on Vorpex.
Yeah. And George, as Vito, also says in the chat that the game is incredible. So yeah, nice recommendation there, dude.
Yeah. I saw someone said Rowdy's Dusty Grandma's House Simulator. So yeah, that's I couldn't describe it any better. Thanks for that, Sneaky Snooks.
There you go. Nice. So what about the chat? Have they got any good suggestions, stuff that they played this week? Anything from them?
Yes. So we have Arcane, who has been playing The Climb 2 and Synth Riders for some movement and exercise.
Nice.
Gaming science teacher has been trying out the Smash Drums demo and is also looking forward to trying out more App Lab titles this weekend. It's raining App Lab titles.
It's so easy as well. That's the other thing. So easy now.
Then we have Paint Pros Colorado, who played Population 1. Arcanian VR has been finally getting himself a racing wheel. So he has been playing some Assetto Corsa to get ready for the next Zim's Racing Sunday. Jim's Racing Sunday, I should say. Yeah.
Look what you're doing, Zim. You're like, people's wallets are crying because of you.
I warned you.
You should be proud.
I remember this conversation. I've warned people before, like your wallets do burn. They're gonna burn, but you're gonna be happy, and that's what matters most.
Well, he has to save up money for the ticket to Canada, so he has to get his money from somewhere, right?
Don't care
racing
about
wheels.
Just game. Gaming makes you happy, not food.
Racing wheel. Yeah.
Hey, if you haven't learned that lesson by the time you're 13, man, you're no gamer. Who hasn't saved up their change to buy a game? Oh my god.
Then we have Dave the Psycho, who played Vertigo Remastered, The Lost Eye, and Flow Weaver. And then last but not least, we have Steve, who has been playing Saints and Sinners, the trial mode, and he got 3rd place in the FAL competition for Saints and freaking Sinners.
Nice
Third
job,
place.
dude.
So
Nice.
he's a millionaire now.
Yeah. I wonder if you got a prize for 3rd place, or is it
I
just
don't know
first
what
place?
it was. Maybe some.
Nice job, though. Yeah, good job.
Good. And actually, before Mike, before you jump to yours, I just wanted to say a thanks to these guys for covering for me while I was out. So I thought Rowdy's run of the podcast, which has been a while since we've had him kind of able to do that, was silky smooth. So great job on that. And
did you also like my releases?
Yes, I did. I had feedback on that. I thought Laid Back Camp was an excellent pick.
Laid Back Camp. Oh my God.
And that lava thing, man, you made Danny Zim proud. Yeah.
Did you try it? Did you try it, Nathan? Lava
No,
Mine?
but PD.
We're not going to go back on that discussion.
Anyway, okay.
No, let's not do it.
Let's move on. So this week, I jumped into Crisis Brigade 2. I played it using the B-Haptics vest and also the recoil feedback pistol from ProTube called the ProVolver. I can show you it very quickly, actually. I've got a little product cam set up for you all, so check this out. So this is the ProTube from ProVolver. The ProVolver from ProTube, sorry. It's a recoil feedback pistol. It's got this kind of kickback slide here at the top with a motor inside. So when you pull the trigger, it slides back and gives you that kind of recoil feedback in games, which is kind of fun. And especially as just recently we were talking about the Striker VR gun on the show, kind of got me excited for sort of haptic VR stuff again. So I thought I'd jump in, check it out with Crisis Brigade 2. And yeah, Crisis Brigade 2, if you're not familiar with the game, it's very similar to like Time Crisis, but in VR. But of course, being in VR, you have to physically dodge behind cover and, take pop shots above the cover, which is a lot of fun. It's pretty short. If you've not played it before, it's only got 3 missions.
Really?
They're very challenging missions.
Only 3 missions in the sequel? That's really surprising, actually.
Yeah, only 3 missions. It is hard. It's a hard game. It's challenging because you only have 3 lives to take on each mission. And then if you lose them all, you have to just start all over again. But in this game, you can use in-game currency to upgrade your weapons, buy extra lives, and also use continues as well to carry on where you left off if you do get wrecked by one of the bosses, which I did a couple of times. I should mention there is a co-op mode coming for Crisis Brigade 2. It's in the works. It'll be coming soon to both Quest and PC versions with cross-platform play. The Quest version is currently available right now on App Lab. It's not on the official store, but you can also get the game on Steam as well. So if you like Time Crisis, you're looking for a challenge, sort of arcadey feel shooter, then I'd recommend it. In terms of the kit I used, obviously the B-Haptics is available for everyone. The ProVolver from ProTube, though, is only aimed at the arcade market right now, although they do have a revision in the works which will be lighter and easier to handle and will be coming to the consumer market sometime soon.
Yeah, about that, it does look like it has some proper weight to it. It's like, and I'm sure you have some experience, like firing some real weapons. How would you compare the two? Since I think it would be a little bit more top heavy compared, because the module is more to the front. But
yeah.
like how would you? Since you're probably the only one of us who has experience in doing that. So how would you compare this to actually actual proper simulation?
So it's 900 grams. So it's about the same weight as a fully loaded pistol in real life. But you're right, it is very front heavy, whereas a traditional firearm is more balanced. I did do a firearms course when I was in my old job. I did sadly fail it, though.
How many instructors died, Mike?
I passed the shooting with flying colors, which, my hand-to-eye coordination is pretty good. So that was fine, top marks for that. But it was the tactical side of things that I struggled with.
I was about to say that you were like, but I shot all the wrong targets. Like I shot all the kids, I shot all the women.
It's very intense. It's very intense. It's funny because, obviously, I hadn't thought about it for a long, long time, but it's a very stressful situation to be in. And the funny thing is, you go through these scenarios, you pull the trigger if you have to, and then you have to explain why you did it in micro detail. Your thought process, what you were thinking, what you thought was going to happen. So it's very, very stressful. I'm glad that I didn't actually go into that department in the end. But yeah, so I would say it's very front heavy compared to a normal firearm, but similar sort of weight feeling. And especially with Crisis Brigade, where you can sort of, shoot over cover and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, it was really nice to jump back into it again because thankfully the devs from ProTube sent me over the new pistol grip for the Quest 2 controller because it's slightly different from the original. But yeah, like I said, they're working on a revision of it soon, which will be more aimed at the consumer market and hopefully will have a better price tag because this is pricey stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that was my highlight.
Nice.
Very good.
So let's get straight into the news then. We've got a lot of news to cover this week. And the first bit I want to talk about is about HTC because they finally unveiled what they've been teasing on their official Vive Twitter account over the past couple of weeks. Last week on the show, we speculated and also kind of hoped that it would be a new standalone headset from them to compete with the Quest 2, but sadly, that's not the case. At least for now, anyway, but I'll touch more on that in a little bit. So instead, they launched 2 new products, the Vive Facial Tracker and the Vive Tracker 3.0. So maybe starting with the Vive Facial Tracker, this is an attachment designed for the Vive Pro and the Vive Pro Eye headsets. Although I've read in comments on Reddit posts suggesting that it will work with other headsets, but you would need to find a way to mount it onto the headset yourself. So I'm going to be testing this out with the Valve Index when it arrives with some duct tape, and I'll let you know how it goes, maybe on next week's show. So what does it do? Well, put simply, it tracks your mouth movements with near zero latency using dual cameras built into the module, which kind of hangs down over the front of the headset right in front of your mouth. It can track 38 facial movements from your lips, jaw, chin, teeth, tongue, and cheeks, and then apply them to an in-game avatar to make capturing expressions for in-game characters easier for developers that are either using Unity or the Unreal Engine, to create scripted sequences, or of course it can be used by consumers for more lifelike interactions in social VR experiences. So right now, support is fairly limited. The only social VR application that I know supports the facial tracker is Neos VR, which is available for free on Steam. It's kind of like a social application, a bit like VRChat, although I'm sure someone from the community will figure out how to integrate it into VRChat soon enough. It's not supported right now, though. Nathan, you've actually got one of these modules.
Yeah, I do.
Have you got it to hand?
No, but do you want me to grab it real quick?
Sure, if you want to.
Okay.
If you want to. And I can
I'll
talk about
give some comments on it. Or no, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're interested in this tech, obviously it's kind of more on the development side, but obviously it has applications on the social side as well. It's available to order now in the UK and Europe, and it's priced at 129 British pounds. It will be coming to the US, available to buy there later this month, and it'll be priced at 129 US dollars. So
nice.
I don't think it's a bad price. I think it's pretty decent for something quite unique like this.
Yeah, I think the price is spot on for because this is awesome technology. I think the only problem I see with this again is implementation. I just think that, like with added modules on an already pricey device, it's gonna be hard to like add that or sell that to a consumer. I would very much compare it to the Magic Leap when that came out.
Exactly.
Awesome tech. Like a really cool implementation, but if we're really honest, it didn't really get implemented into like anything except for the basic demos. And I think that this will probably have a little bit of a same kind of future up until the point that someone comes out with a headset, Oculus probably, considering they're the ones who pushing this technology, where it's like built in and you have that, from the get-go. Because I don't think a lot of consumers, even for this price, would buy it, because also it's the extra hassle. You need to set it up, you need to plug it in, you have another cable running. In terms of ease of use, it's not really the best kind of thing, but it's again pushing the frontier a little bit further, which I applaud and which I really appreciate. It looks great.
Yeah, and I think that was a good analogy actually, comparing it to the Magic Leap, because it was kind of like a really nice, interesting concept, but it never actually went anywhere other than the development stage. It never got integrated into a game. But
now you have hand tracking in the Oculus Quest, so that kind of technology got integrated, and now you see that being used in different kind of technologies.
What comparison did you make? Because I was thinking Leap Motion when I saw this.
Leap Motion, that's what he meant. Yeah, Magic Leap, Leap Motion. Yeah, sorry.
Because
right.
Leap Motion was this module, and it came out, and I just felt like if you're gonna bring something like this, the software has to go with the hardware, even if it's more for development purposes. I would think, Neos, this video and stuff that we're running is pretty nifty in terms of the caricatures, and the facial tracking is actually pretty mature, even for this kind of first product offering that we're seeing. But the hardware implementation with that extra cable running over the headset, the price is fine. I think the price is, as you guys have said, the price is fine. But I would expect more. If you're gonna all of a sudden jump out of the clouds and have something to show, wouldn't you even have a first-party application to go with it? That's the thing I don't understand. Wouldn't you want to excite two users in a simple VR app that you could talk to each other in a room? Just something super basic like that.
Well, the funny part is HTC partly owns VRChat. So why didn't they use that in their favor, marketing-wise? They didn't do that because Nias is. Never heard of it since I was getting interested in facial trackers. It's a bit strange. So again, they have hardware, but where's the software?
Can you show us the module a little bit there, Nathan?
Yeah. So here it is. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Ooh,
And I think it's got a USB-C cable there, right?
It's USB-C. Yeah.
So I think with the Index, I'm going to have to use some sort of adapter to plug it into the front.
Yeah, and you have to tape
it.
it. You have to tape it onto your headset.
But there is screws on that mount that you can undo, is there? So you could use a different.
On the side, I see screws here.
Yeah.
So those are to kind of move the camera or the camera closer to your.
Yeah. I'm sure someone from the community will get a 3D printed mount for the
I was already
Index
thinking like
before you know it. But
somebody already did that.
I'm just going to use zip ties and duct tape, and I'm sure that'll work fine.
Yeah.
But very nice. So that is the first product that they announced. Obviously, it wasn't the only one. The second product that they announced was a revision to their trackers, the new Vive Tracker 3.0. Now, these new trackers, and the old trackers, in fact, can be used with any Steam VR headset that uses Lighthouse tracking, such as all the Vive headsets, the Valve Index, and the Pimax, for example. And these trackers, they're kind of used for a variety of different things. You can use them for high-quality mixed reality capture. So if you wanted to move a camera around in virtual scenes, like you see from some of the top mixed reality pros, like Touge VR, for example, his mixed reality content is like next level. Definitely go check it out if you're interested in mixed reality capture. He did a great guide just recently. But they're also used by professionals for performance capture, and again, in social experiences by consumers that support full body tracking, like VRChat, Island 359. You can kick a dinosaur in the face. Amazing. I definitely want to do that. That's one of the first things I'm going to try. Blade and Sorcery, and of course we can't forget the best game. What is it, Nathie?
Hole in the Wall.
Yes, there you go. Because I actually tried full body tracking for the first time when I visited Nathie in the Netherlands. We didn't have the waist. We didn't have one for the waist.
No, we didn't.
We just had one for each foot. But we tried this one called Hole in the Wall. It was freaking hilarious. Nathie actually managed to jump mid-air through a hole in the wall, which was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
It played like O-Shape. Before anyone gets fanciful ideas about what Mike's describing. Yeah, it plays like O-Shape, so it's your full body trying to go through a punch card in the wall, and you fail if you don't match the shape.
Yeah, so you managed to do it in mid-air, which was impressive.
It's actually a good point that the D1360 is making here, that Vive is slowly making it possible for the F.Reality crew to become a fully VTube podcast.
That's true, actually. We could
put our faces in there, get our facial expressions. And
maybe we should just try it as an experiment one day in the future and see how long it takes people to notice. But yeah, so these new trackers, they're apparently 33% smaller than the last version. They weigh just 75 grams, which is 15% lighter than the last version, whilst packing an additional 75% better battery life, which roughly equates to 7.5 hours of use per charge. It's pretty decent.
That's good.
Yeah.
Other changes include moving from micro USB to USB-C. So that might upset some people from the sort of VRChat community, because if you use like the Rebuff Reality track straps with the built-in batteries, you'll just need to swap the cable over to a USB-C one, but it will still work with the new trackers. You do need a dongle for each tracker, so that's kind of annoying. It was annoying quirk with the original trackers, same quirk with this one. So make sure you have plenty of USBs free in your PC, because if you want to use 3 trackers for full body tracking, you're going to need 3 USB slots. They also mount using the same tripods kind of style screw mount. And like I mentioned, Rebuff Reality make the best straps to strap them to your body if you're interested in doing that kind of thing. I personally ordered 3 of these myself. They're expensive. I ordered one for each foot and one for the waist because I wanted to try full body tracking. I've never really tried it in VRChat before, so that was kind of like a reason to get them and also mess around with some mixed reality stuff. They cost the same as the Vive facial tracker, so 129 British pounds each, or 129 US dollars each, which is £30 or $30 more expensive than the last version. Some people are kind of happy about the fact that they're coming and they're like obviously got more battery, but some people are a bit upset about the price hike, because obviously HTC have got some more competition on the horizon now in the tracking market. at least, as there's 2 other companies that are working on tracking products that are coming to market relatively soon. If you're interested, you have the Tundra trackers, which are even smaller than these new Vive trackers.
Yeah,
they're going to be
very small.
$94 each, or you can buy them as a bundle with 3 trackers and a dongle at $300.
Yeah.
So it's a saving of $90 when buying 3 of them for a full tracking bundle. The other benefit of the Tundra trackers is that you only need a single dongle to track multiple trackers, and they have a simpler mounting system, so you can thread them through the loops at the bottom to attach them to your trainers through the shoelaces, for example, or you can just like run your belt through it to attach it to your waist. So it's a smarter mounting system, but they're not to market yet. They're going to be launching a Kickstarter campaign on the 29th of March. So we'll obviously.
But they are significantly smaller than, because the new Vive trackers, yes, they are smaller, but they are still quite big, you know. So I think if they really have something that works really well, it's definitely going to take off, because as you said, for Vtubing and things like that, for people who use it every day,
they'll go.
You want the easiest method.
So a quick question,
the most interesting for me personally, I still find just having one extra tracker to be placed on the hip, because that would give you like quite a lot of more possibilities in doing locomotion. I think because now a lot of the locomotion is either head based or controller based, but if you're doing things with your hands, then you can sometimes like walk in every direction at the same time if you're a little bit frantic. So having an extra tracker on your hip would actually be a kind of nice addition. I see in the future that maybe being integrated is one of the first things, even before like seeing it happen for your feet, because of course like with feet tracking and like getting full body tracking, you typically need like more kinetic points to get like an accurate representation. Although I have to say, with like the latest predictive technology, the kind of like estimations that they can do on like estimating like what kind of movement you're doing with your elbows is actually really, really promising. So with actually a very few amount of trackers, you can actually get very accurate predictions nowadays.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because that's what Deca Gear are doing with the Deca Move. Yeah. They're launching that first, which is a hip tracker, and it's for exactly that reason. So
I think it's
your body
choice.
Yeah,
especially for like competitive gaming and stuff like that in VR, to have that extra in competitive shooters. Yeah, I think that's nice.
So literally, your body could be going in one direction, your head and your arms could be facing other directions, like strafing, for example. So it's an interesting concept.
On this price question, the curiosity I have is, what's the limit? So like I've seen like silly screens from Steam VR where someone's got 8, 12, 20 trackers or whatever it is. What's the limit at the moment? Like, is there maybe none of you know this, maybe chat does, but like does the VRChat player models and the skeleton, for example, that you've got, like, does that allow you to add as many trackers as you want, and Steam VR will just deal with it and you get an improvement? Because if you're deciding like, hey, either I'll pay top dollar and get the formal HTC one, or I'll go for the Tundra trackers, you might say, oh, get 4, and then my tracking is that little bit better. Is there an advantage there? I'm just curious about that.
I'm not sure what the limit is, but the standard is like 1 on each foot, 1 on your waist. Obviously, the headset tracks your head.
There's definitely a limit to it.
Yeah, the controllers track your hands. And
what do you mean with the limit to it?
Like if I decided to throw, exactly. If I just bought 8 trackers and I slapped them on my body, would I see the animation of the character? Is the kind of, will it map the parity to the skeleton, or is there a limitation at like a design level? In other words, does the skeleton have to be, and the animation have to be designed before you then stick the tracker in? That's what I'd imagine.
You have to rig it yourself.
I do think you need to rig that yourself, because otherwise, because that's still like, even if you have a lot of animation points, there's still a certain prediction that is happening to estimate like arm length or like the rotation of your elbow or whatever it is. So you would still need to have, even if you have a lot of trackers, there would still be predictive technology that is helping you try to get.
That's what I'm asking is like, does it? Albagdo Wong said in chat, would it increase the resolution essentially? That's what I'm saying. Like, if it would, and you would be able to see a benefit, and then it does that interpolation, and there's like something happening in the software middle layer, then cool, right? Because then if money is no object, you could actually have a really high resolution tracking model, and I think people would pick that up, because for anyone who's seen someone like in VRChat, right, it's quite eye-catching when you see someone.
It's a lot to manage, like if you're like 3 trackers is a lot to manage, let alone more
10.
because you've got to charge them all individually. You've got to then mount them all individually. You know, it's a lot of work. But I'm sure there's people out there that do it. But I don't know what the limit is. I think.
But at that point, some people buy actual suits that track everything,
like a mocap suit or something, like the Tesla suit. You know, that has the potential to do that in the future. I should also mention StonX. They're also a small startup company that are offering a full body tracking solution, but it's just $80 for the dev kit or $165 for the retail version, which would include 4 trackers and a tracking beacon. Still very early days for this product, and it's still very much in development, and we don't know how accurate they're going to be, but I just thought I'd mention it, that there is another alternative in the works as well if you want to go check them out, and that is StonX. But to round up this segment, talking about HTC, although we didn't get any news about a new headset, which we kind of hoped for, the president of HTC in China, Alvin Graylin, did confirm that their next generation standalone headset will be coming soon in a recent interview with YouTube channel Teleport Me. And he said that it will be an all-in-one headset, although quickly stated that he wouldn't position it as a Quest competitor. So this kind of likely means it's going to be aimed at business or enterprise use. But he did confirm the headset will be launching this year and said that from every perspective, it's better than what they have today and is probably better than what's out there from any other vendor today.
And it's standalone.
It's standalone.
That sounds just like a 2.0 version of the what's the Vive standalone from ages ago? The
Focus.
The Focus. Yeah, wouldn't it just be the Focus 2? I thought they already teased that.
Well, we talked about the XR2 version, right, on last week's show from the Geekbench leak.
What does he exactly mean with that? It's better than from any other vendor? Because this is really I think market specific.
So enterprise, like other enterprises who also offer like standalone VR
trackers.
So no VR headsets.
VR headsets.
So the Pico, for example, is from a vendor. What else do we have in terms of standalone?
So compared to other headset vendors,
well, he's comparing it to almost no headset.
There's almost no standalone headsets. Yeah,
that's the Go. I was thinking.
Yeah, there's
the XRSpace then is also from a vendor. That's about it, I think.
It just seems that from this conversation that you had on this show, that it's going to be enterprise focused. You know, he did sort of specifically state it wasn't going to be a Quest competitor. Whether that means it will still be available for the prosumer market to play games, we don't know at this point.
That's
a bit like the Vive Pro, because the thing is with the Vive Pro, it was an enterprise headset that was almost marketed at gamers, but so it was a bit of a weird one.
They usually like to sell everything to everyone, even that it's not for
We just don't know. We don't know.
But it's good that he's setting expectations. I think he was pretty honest in that interview and just saying, listen, because the thing is, he also knows that he can't compete in a certain market. So he just kind of puts it in their own kind of spot. I think it's good. I think what he did there was a brave move.
But obviously, as soon as we get any more information about this headset, we'll let you know on the show as well. But I thought I'd give you that little tidbit there. Next bit of news is about Shadow. You might remember me talking about this a little while ago as I tested it out for a video. I was actually surprised at how well it worked. But Shadow is like a company that provides access to full remote PCs in the cloud. They're basically all located in a data center somewhere. And it's a full PC. You can do anything you want with it. You can use it for productivity, video editing, remote storage, and of course, PC gaming. They even have, I think the most basic plan has like a GTX 1080 in it with 256 gigabytes of storage. So it's pretty decent. And it was only £12, $15 a month for the service for a full remote PC, which is pretty good considering the cost of components nowadays, especially now with, graphics cards being very difficult to find because of the booming market in terms of mining cryptocurrency. Everyone's picking them up or scalping them on sort of eBay and stuff like that. So it was a real awesome service at a cheap cost that you could get into PC gaming. And I used it using Virtual Desktop to play Half-Life Alyx remotely from a Shadow PC that was 300 miles away in a data center in Paris. And I was actually very surprised with how well it worked, because I was getting around 50 to 90 milliseconds of latency in VR, which when you consider the distance, that's not bad. And it was definitely playable. And it kind of worked well enough that I sort of suggested that if you didn't have access to a high-end PC for VR content and you wanted to give it a go, then I'd recommend you kind of sign up for the service. But there was an incredibly long waiting list. And there were some other caveats involved, like the speed of your internet connection, the strength of your Wi-Fi connection as well, and also your physical distance from your nearest data center would affect the performance. So you had to kind of bear those things in mind. Yep. But unfortunately, in recent news, the company is kind of facing financial problems. And in their latest blog post, they gave an update stated that they kind of fell victim to their own success, with demand greatly exceeding the company's capacity. So you had all these people signing up, but they didn't have the physical machines to service those users. And they were obviously costing a lot of money to buy those components, or at least lease them from this company, which I'll talk about shortly. Because they used like a kind of a service provider for their server equipment, a company called XRSI. And this company now are saying, well, we're giving you all this hardware, but we're not getting the return quick enough. And there's other companies that want to access this and are offering more money. And it almost seems like they're kind of pulling the rug underneath them to a certain degree. And this is what they said in a statement. They said that they have the right to take back 30 million euros worth of hardware currently used by the Shadow service, with further mention of financial debt around the contract to lease or use the equipment amounting to over 3 million euros. They said that the shortage of electronic components, and more specifically graphics cards due to the COVID-19 pandemic, has increased demand for its equipment. XRSI has already received interest from other customers for the servers currently used by the Shadow service. Now, Shadow seem optimistic at this point, saying that it's reorganizing and seeking new investment to free itself from this debt before moving on to a new stage. And they're sort of saying that right now, any customers using the service will be unaffected, with pre-orders still being honored, but new sort of customers signing up to the service will be put on hold for the time being. So yeah, it's kind of a shame. I do hope they find investment and they can build further from this point, as they do offer you a really unique service when compared to the likes of Stadia, for example.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're
gonna also.
Well, that is true. That is true, but it seems like a shame because it is quite unique in this kind of space.
Yeah, there's loads of potential.
It's a difficult sell though. I mean, as a product, what you're doing is you're taking a box that can host 40 users, slice it apart, sell it off to people, basically sharing the seat, so to speak, of that box, because you wouldn't be using it. So Mike's got a subscription, Nathan's got a subscription, and I've got one, right? Rowdy says, "Man, I'm not going to pay him for that," and you know, we're all like connecting at different times in that. So like from a load balancing perspective, it makes sense. But like, how do you turn what is essentially an expensive computer, because it's going to be far more expensive than just a PC you'd build at home, and then couple with that the networking transmission costs, and then slice it up into 15 quid a month? Like, it's difficult to make it attractive to a consumer at a price point that they're willing to put money in. And I think it's a really interesting slide that you mentioned, with all the crypto mining, because we saw this a couple of years ago, and the same thing is just it's crippling a couple of markets. It's causing strange behavior from like PC specialists in their sales as well. Like, you want a graphics card, fine, buy the full rig. You can't just have a card on its own. Those kinds of sales behaviors that we're seeing at the moment. It's just another turn in this kind of world in the last 2 years that we just have to get acclimated to. It's probably transient. I would expect this technology to come back. Hopefully these guys can stay alive. But I would expect at some point a Stadia or Shadow PC-like service to actually be viable. Right now I think it's just not at the price point.
What would you think would be required for a business like that to thrive then? Like, because I mean, should just PCs become more expensive? Should that happen first before that people are less likely to buy a home PC? Is that something that is maybe
already very expensive?
It's very
I don't know.
rare.
Like, you can still get a fairly decent gaming PC, just a regular gaming PC, for quite not that much money. Like, it's not that expensive.
I think you're talking like between $600 to $800 for a decent one.
I think if you talk about your average consumer, right? Like, we are already moved in the last 10 years. We've already moved away from people by default buying a Dell and having a desktop sitting there to moving to a laptop and more decentralized stuff. The advent of, for instance, Chromebooks, like move the power of the processing away and have a heavier reliance on the internet, right? The internet connection now is like a water supply. So I think it just needs to mature. I think that just needs to mature to the point where, like, I hope that VR contributes to this, because I think all of us would love get rid of the physical box in your house, potentially get rid of the monitors, forget all that infrastructure, just have a headset. And if
'Cause
that
I think
headset
it
connects to a
kinda
data
happens
center,
a Ready Player One thing.
yeah, absolutely. You're just connecting to a service,
Because that kind of happened just a little. I mean, I wouldn't compare it entirely, but you can maybe compare it a little bit to like the rise of Netflix. You used to be that everyone had like a DVD player box below their TV where you put the DVD in, you play it, but that kind of like got like decentralized, and it's now like Netflix, and everyone puts Netflix on or Amazon Prime, whatever.
Good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Is that maybe something that needs to become like more necessary? That less people will just have PCs or see the benefit of having a PC in the house and then just have a monitor or
Agree.
just have a.
It just needs a point of
that's
inflection.
something-
It just needs a point of inflection.
If I was like 13 years old and couldn't buy a PC, then this is certainly something I'd be looking at. £12 a month. You could swallow that quite easily and have all that power.
Yeah.
It's just remotely. It's a pretty awesome concept. But like I said, whether they'll survive in the long term after this blow, we don't know yet. But they're looking sort of optimistic at it. But we'll have to wait and see. But another blow, obviously, was that the news recently that Oculus kind of stated publicly that they wouldn't allow these apps on the official store. Same with like Plutosphere, which was another kind of cloud streaming VR service that was kind of bubbling on the works.
Yeah.
It's available through SideQuest.
You can understand why, right? Remember when they didn't like virtual desktop for the performance part? All those caveats you just mentioned, Mike, and I could have thought of another one or two, is a very good reason why they don't want it tarnishing. Or I'm going to pull up this old comment. They don't want it poisoning the well,
Yeah, it's glad that virtual desktop slipped through the net because, you're doing it with a local PC and you just want to play wirelessly. That's the goal. But yeah. But yeah, so that is Shadow in some trouble, but hopefully they can pull themselves out of it in the future. It would be sad to see them go, put it that way.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last kind of bit of news is a couple of updates from Oculus. Firstly, an update about Oculus Quest 2's 120 hertz mode. If you're not familiar with this, Andrew Bosworth recently stated in an Instagram AMA that this is a feature in the roadmap for the Quest 2. Although the official developer roadmap was recently updated to suggest that it's been pushed back to Q2 of 2021, so maybe another couple of months, maybe. And John Carmack also just suggested that obviously this won't be working with a complete library of games available on Quest. It will likely be a few existing games that will be able to support 120 hertz mode. He didn't give any indication as to what those games might be, but Beat Saber is a good candidate. Pistol Whip, those kind of like super hot, low poly sort of games might work well for 120 hertz mode. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and wait to see when that comes. I'd also like to see it come to Oculus Link as well, actually, for 120 hertz Steam VR mode, because that's pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, general consumer doesn't care, so they can just kind of wait this out and take their time, right?
Yeah, this is like what the enthusiasts want for sure.
I honestly think if there's even just one application of it, like Beat Saber at 90 or 120 is just beautiful. So I will take that, even if they had to cut down on the graphics in the game to achieve it, stably.
Are there any graphics in Beat Saber? I mean,
yeah, I mean, if you play, like, I remember seeing it when you stepped from like the PC VR version and then you went and played like the PSVR version of Beat Saber, like flattened textures, no pretty effects. There are, but they're limited.
You could also be slashing a blue and a red potato, and it would still be Beat Saber. So I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Potato Saber.
Yeah, Potato Saber.
So yeah, that is the 120 hertz mode delayed. The other little bit of Oculus news is that they're holding a couple of virtual sessions ahead of GDC to talk about the development of VR titles on the 17th of March. So if you're interested in kind of like a bit behind the scenes about the development of VR titles, then maybe go check it out.
Great combination, Mike and
you have Mike Verdu, Jason Rubin, Michael Carter, and our friend Denny Unger from Cloudhead Games. They're going to be giving a talk about sort of developing in VR. There's also going to be discussions from the devs at Big Box VR, the creators of Population 1, and also a talk from Skydance Interactive, the devs behind The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners.
Interesting,
as well. So if you're interested in like development of multiplayer and single player games, maybe go and check out the discussions there. They're going to be hosted on the official GDC website on Wednesday, the 17th of March.
Can we like, I don't know when there's a point where we can say this, but can we almost say now that Big Box and also Skydance are not really indie studios anymore, but more the AAA studios of our VR industry?
Of the VR industry, then
yeah.
They're certainly getting there,
yeah, because they are the most successful ones. Beat Games,
Well, I think they both make games that bring players back for more, and I think that's something that VR lacks to a certain degree, is that kind of pull. Oh, I want to go back and play that game. I want to go back into Saints and Sinners and find out what happens to this guy and where the story arc goes. I want to jump back into Population 1 to level up and play with my friends. They're games that keep sucking players back for more, and retention is important.
I think a little bit depends as well on like what is your definition of like a AAA?
Well, usually AAA is based on how many sales a company has made and also how successful they have been throughout the years with different, like, if they had multiple hits, then they become like a AAA.
Isn't AAA rather on budget rather than sales? I thought it was the other side of the coin. Same thing like with movies, Usually you're saying that the production is at a certain level of spend, which can translate into sales. Yeah. But there are games that don't have a mega budget. So I would generally look at it from that perspective. And again, that's not something that we often get to see into the books of. How much money
even if
goes
they're not
behind a VR
regarded as
project.
AAA, they're definitely like significant
Well,
players.
they just show that they know exactly how things work from the marketing and that's something with indies you don't really, they're just hardcore businesses. Yeah.
Both those games nailed it on the marketing and delivering quality experiences in VR as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they say on the 17th of March. Go check out those discussions on the GDC website. So now let's get into the main topic this week. We've got an interesting headset to talk about, the XRSpace Manova. So you may recall we talked about this way back on the show on episode 141 when it was originally announced back in May of last year. It's a standalone headset developed by Peter Chow, former CEO of HTC, under the new company XRSpace. What's unique about this headset is that it's built around a single online world with the focus mainly on social interaction. So they're kind of stepping away a little bit from gaming, although there is some gaming sides to it, which I'll talk about shortly, but mainly focused on social. Not many people have tried this headset because it's hard to get hold of. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk about it because Nathan and I got our hands on one each. And we met up in the virtual world together and we had a bit of fun. So we can maybe talk about our experience. I actually bought one on eBay, of all places. I regularly collect weird VR headsets. I've bought some very old ones, some rare ones. And this just popped up in my feed one day. And I was like, this is unusual. I remember talking about this a while ago. And I bought it. And we got to check it out. So... should we start with the hardware and maybe I can do a little unboxing?
So should we first tell everyone, so XRSpace Manova is a standalone headset, a 5G VR headset. It's not for consumers and it's also not really for enterprise right now. It's not for sale. So it's more
not for anyone.
It's for, no, but it's like, it's not for sale for anyone. So it's kind of like in an experimental phase right now. So that's why it also says like beta. So in the end, this is going to be for consumers. But right now you just can't get your hands on it.
Yeah, that's right. So I thought we'd do a little live unboxing. It's a bit new. So this is the actual box that it comes in. It's got pretty basic packaging. It's got the Manova world on the side, little logo there. And I'll show you exactly what the headset looks like.
Just make sure you do a little bit of ASMR for the audio listeners here.
Okay. So I'll this is what the box feels. This is what the case feels like.
Sounds like he's sawing into it now. Yeah.
So it comes with this nice little hard case, which is actually quite a nice little touch, I think.
Looks like an egg.
Yeah.
So it comes shipped in one of these little cases. This is the headset itself. This is what it looks like. I can take this out of the way now.
It's like a stormtrooper's face.
Yeah, those eyes are amazing.
It comes in white or orange, like a burnt orange color. It's kind of got some silver accents here on the side as well. I think overall it looks like a nice headset. It's got quite a cool little design to it. So I can kind of run you through the specs. It's got a Snapdragon 845 processor. It's got a resolution of 1440 by 1440 per eye, running at 90 hertz with 100 degrees field of view. It's got 6 gigabytes of memory, 64 gigabytes of internal storage, 2.5 hour battery life with USB-C port for charging at the top there, power button, volume button, as you'd expect. It's got a fixed IPD, which is kind of interesting. So no IPD adjustment. It's got integrated
IPD. And what is that IPD? Do you know what it is?
I don't know what it is. I tried to look it up. As we know from the Quest, what was it? No, not the Quest, the Go. The IPD was fixed at around 64 millimeters, which is kind of like the mean average.
Yes.
I'd imagine this is probably the same.
Okay.
It has integrated hand tracking, which is tracked through the front-facing cameras, which also provides headset tracking, 6 degrees of freedom. It also has a little pass-through camera here, which you can just about make out as well.
Yes.
There. It's got built-in speakers, dual microphones, and a 3.5mm audio jack if you want to wear headphones. It's got a soft strap similar to the Quest 2, which sucks, just like the Quest 2 one does, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It has built-in Wi-Fi, and interestingly, it's got a little slot. I don't think you'll be able to see this because the lighting is pretty terrible, but it's actually... Oh, God, I just turned it on. There's a little tray here for a 5G SIM card.
Really?
Yeah, so you can use
5G SIM card. Okay.
Yeah, so you can use it on the go. That was kind of like part of their marketing plan around this headset, because the thing is you can only buy this through telecoms providers in both Germany and Taiwan right now. So that's kind of like
Germany
how they're
and
selling
Taiwan. What an odd
The ideal
distribution.
market.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, it's kind of smart of them to target Germany because you can't buy the Quest there right now. So in a way, that's kind of smart. But yeah, they kind of want to sell it through telecoms providers, bundling it with 5G SIM cards, I presume.
Quick question, Mike. That
Sure.
grill on the top, is that for heat dissipation?
Yes.
And are there fans?
Yes, there are fans. And I'm going to be talking more about that shortly. I should also show you the controller because it also comes with a 3DoF controller, similar to the Oculus Go.
Yeah.
The controller has a trackpad on the top.
That's the Oculus Go controller.
Yeah, it almost looks like the Oculus Go
Almost.
controller. Wow.
You would think so, right? It looks very similar.
But it's got a grip button, which is unique.
It's got a grip button. It's got a trigger button. It's got a home and a menu button as well. And it takes, I think it's a single AA. Yeah, single AA battery, just like the Go did. Go does as well. So yeah. So we used this to jump. I'll jump back to my normal camera now. Now that I've kind of shown you that kind of stuff. We used these headsets to jump into the virtual world, which is called Manova. And I think we have a little video of that as well, which I captured from the headset itself.
I do. I'll get it up there in just a sec.
So the thing is with this headset is, like I said, it's only available in Germany and Taiwan. It retails for 500 euros or $599 when it comes to the US market. We don't know if and when that happens. So it is quite expensive, especially when you compare it to obviously the competition on the market right now. Talking about the headset, just sort of recapping on the thoughts of the hardware before we talk about the virtual world. The hardware sadly isn't very good. Like Zim mentioned about the fans. The fans are actually quite loud, and when they kick in, you really do hear them over the virtual world. They're that
Yeah, it's
impressive.
sometimes hard to like hear someone speak because of the fans going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty bad. The screen door effect
How's
is
the
pretty
audio?
visible.
Sorry, while you're just like, how's the audio on the speakers? Like, would you just say it's kind of on par with like the Go, or is it no? It's kind of tinny.
It was fine. I didn't have any complaints about the audio. Like, I didn't wear any headphones when me and Nathan met up. I could hear him clearly. He could hear me clearly. We tested out the audio by talking to each other. Didn't have any problems with the audio, really. And you'd expect that, especially with a headset focused on social alone.
Yeah. So the interesting part about this, I don't know if you want to say anything else about the hardware.
I just got a few more things about the hardware
cool.
before we get into
Go
the
ahead.
virtual world, because I think that should be talked about in its own entity because it is kind of separate.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The performance of the headset itself, it runs the world pretty laggy. Like, we experienced it wasn't a smooth experience, put it that way. It was kind of a bit choppy at times. The hand tracking is very poor. It's not on par with what we know from Quest or Quest 2. It kind of just shows your hands movements as basic gestures. It doesn't show you them move in real time, if you know what I mean. And that's why in the video that you'll see now, Nathan and I resorted to using the 3DoF controller to move around and interact with the world because the hand tracking was so
Way
bad.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah. The 3DoF controller obviously is limited to what you can do with it. So some of the movements were pretty rough. You know, when we were trying to interact with some of the puzzles or some of the mini games, didn't really feel natural, didn't feel right. So yeah, that was kind of rough. So the hardware is bad. Like, we could just draw a line under that. The hardware is bad. We wouldn't recommend you go out and buy the hardware, put it that way.
Can you just repeat on what the cost was? Like, on
500 euros or
Eesh.
$599 US.
Okay.
So almost twice the price of the Quest 2.
Okay, but wait. Like, because they're selling it through telecom providers, right? So there must be some kind of package you get with that, or is that what is the reason of them selling it through there then?
Just to bundle it with 5G SIM cards so you can use it on the go. But the problem is the data consumption is high. Especially
I was expecting them to go with like a more like aggressive pricing scheme. Like, for example, say that you could get the headset for like 10 euros per month.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, because I think that would make sense. Because then you could like say, the hardware is not too great, but you need to get like a 2-year contract or something like that. You pay 10 euros per month, and if you then quit after 2 years, you need to send the hardware back or something like that. Like, I was expecting them to go a little bit more into that direction, because like who's gonna buy this now for 500 euros? You cannot. Well, I mean, we'll go into software soon, but who is this?
But the thing, as Mike said before, there is no Oculus Quest. So this is the only standalone VR that's next to the Quest that you can buy. So
but how many Quest games can you play on there?
You can't play any Quest games.
It's not a gaming headset.
So you can play games. Headset. So it does have Angry Birds and does have Cloudlands available on the store, but the focus isn't really on gaming. They're not looking to expand their gaming library. They just want to focus on the social world, and that's
so they're not even competing with the Quest. Then even if they release it in the US.
They never said they wanted to compete.
Yeah, it's not a Quest competitor, although it has kind of.
But for who is this then? For who is this headset?
Well, someone that just wants to meet up with their friend or family member in a social VR space without having to mess around with downloading games or apps, because you just start off in that space when you put the headset on.
So it's kind of like OS level. The social experience is OS level.
I get that, but then I think the price point is just completely wrong, because who's going to pay that amount of money for like
I totally agree.
A nice Zoom call?
I totally agree. Yeah, that it's priced way too much, and that's why I think your idea of like a monthly subscription service, like you pay it off as you go through a telecoms provider, is actually a smart one, and that's something that they should definitely consider. Yeah,
it's also smart and snaky. I remember, that's you'd buy a phone or something, you'd be stuck with it for 2 years, still paying it off and hating it the whole time. Like, I don't know that it's better if Rowdy's evil idea of tricking people into buying a terrible headset for 15 quid. I'm just kidding. I get the model, and I do think that a VR provider should do that, especially if it's tied into a 5G plan. Makes way more sense, and they're kind of accustomed to it. Yeah,
I think
did they do that with the Gear
Spaces.
VR at all? I'm just trying to remember. Like, the only similar to this headset, like back in the day, the Gear VR had a similar thing where you could get you buy a mobile and they'd throw in the Gear VR with it. Like, it was tied into telcos in that way. So this is kind of the next step in that evolution, although it's now 5 years later.
Yeah, and I think the problem with XRSpace is that they've had this in development for such a long time. They obviously picked the best parts that were available at the time. And then it was in development for so long, it comes to release, and they're already superseded by the competition the second it releases. And I think that is a big problem for them, because you got to remember that they're not a big company. They're not Facebook, they're not Google, they're not Apple. They're a startup company that have made hardware, which is hard, and they've also developed software to work specifically on that hardware, which again is quite hard. So I think what they've done is a small feat in a way. Sadly, it's bad, but it would have been good had it been released.
I think you're completely right, Mike. I think that the hardware and the software, developing that is a major feat. But I think that the entire, I don't know who did the marketing or who did the market research or did the targeting because regardless whatever product you have, you need to have some kind of market in mind that you're going to target this to, and then do some kind of research into how much is this market willing to pay, how many headsets do we need to sell. I find it a really weird strategy.
But this is the thing, they're the first one who are going to try to offer a headset for social only. The rest of the headsets are all focused on mainly gaming, maybe some entertainment. Social is still very rare. I mean, look at the Oculus Quest. There is a lack of social on that platform. So this is totally new. This is experimental. This is trying to test the waters out.
Yeah, and it's a prime market. If you can just sell the concept to the everyday Joe that you could just use this headset to meet up with someone in VR.
It's a great concept.
It's a great concept. Maybe not executed well.
I completely agree with that.
But
exactly.
It's a great concept.
That's the problem. I think it's not executed well.
So let's hardware-wise it sucks, but the software has so much potential. It was very exciting. So first of all, when you set up this headset, you use your phone, and then you have to make a photo of yourself and it creates an avatar for you. And on my side, I had a fine avatar. I did customize a little bit. I don't know about you, Mike. I was able to, create an avatar that I was happy with. There were some options of things you could customize, your outfits, your hair, eyes, etc. And then it was like, hey, do you want to add any friends? So I looked up VR Oasis. Then we added each other. And then when I jumped in, I was in my own living room. So I got my own living room. I had my own pet too, by the way. That's the best thing ever. So you have your own pet. But it felt like my own home space. And from there, I could just or jump into my wardrobe and change my outfits even more, sit on the couch, watch television in my house, jump onto my scooter and explore the town, because you have a town where you can go to. You have all kinds of different places, the circus, the beach.
This sounds like all the rules of like GTA. Like...
Oh yeah, well, you could compare it to GTA in some ways. But like straight away for me, I was like, nice, my own social place, like something we wanted for other headsets for so long. And so Mike and I met up, and I remember calling him, and there was like this little like Skype window, and you saw Mike in a different environment, and I could see where he was, and he could wave at me with his camera. It was almost like some kind of selfie stick. And we're like, oh, where are you? I'm at the beach. But it was so easy to instantly meet up with someone. I had no problems connecting to Mike, trying to find him, doing fun stuff. So I've never tried something so consumer friendly before in terms of how you meet up. It's very simple, very low entry level. So on the software side, they nailed that. And that excited me so much, because even that the hardware was kind of bad, I was like, this is what I'm missing. This is what I want for years now.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of what we're expecting as well from Facebook Horizon, right? To bring that level of...
I hope so, at least. Because, like, you know, like Nathy said, you know, I was able to invite him over to my house. We could watch some clips on, like, a big screen. I had a little pet penguin running around. Oh. That's my camera just died. So I'll switch to my other one while that kind of recharges a little bit. And, you know, it has all these different worlds for different social activities. So there's like an event center where you can go to like events. There's like a business place where you can do like business meetings with people. And, you know, then you've got this kind of like circus area. You can play casual games together. It kind of felt like a more mature version of VRChat, because you create an avatar that resembles yourself. Which you can do via the app, like you said, by taking a selfie. Although it didn't particularly work very well, I had to manually configure mine. But I think the problem was that when we got into the virtual environment, it was only us two in there.
Yeah, there was no one there.
That was my question. How did you connect with each other? I missed that piece when you were saying
so through the phone. So on the phone, it said like, hey, do you want to add any friends? You could also do it inside the headset, but in the setup process, you could already say, hey, I want to add some of my friends, and then it popped up. So I saw Mike's little avatar, and then I could just like ping him from there already. So when you can prepare for the social part before you step into VR.
And what I'm also interested in, because we see this in, let's say, Rec Room, right? It's very gated. You go from room to then loading another environment, then loading another environment. Was it seamless from space to space, or was it just loaded?
No, like loading.
Yeah, that was my question as well. So like, how big are those environments? Because you guys were like talking about like the beach and the circus, but like, is that like each separate location, or can you actually go from... so every locations spread out a bit more.
So locations are quite big. Like you would be able to fit like 30, 40 people in there for sure. I don't know what the limit is, but from there you have they made all these doors and entry parts where you can then go to something else. Like for example, it says treehouse. So when you then go there, you go to this next environment. So they are connected, but of course you need to load in between. And every environment has also a place to explore. So we could go to the beach, then there was a submarine that we could step into, then we were on the water, and that's a part of the beach. But then we were just able to drink champagne on the water, for example, and play games there too. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did the champagne taste in there?
I have no, Mike.
Underwater, it tastes like seawater.
No, but I just said to Mike, like, forget about the hardware, and maybe XRSpace should also forget about the hardware, and use this social stuff and implement it, into all these other headsets. Put it on Steam. Put it just like VRChat and everything else. Although I still want to see a headset that does just that, but it just needs to be good hardware, But it has so much potential. They were I met a few people in there. They were all German, by the way, because it's. But it was just super nice to hear these people talk about their VR experiences. They were no gamers, but they were like, oh yeah, so we do fitness in the morning with each other, and then we meet up and we chat at the treehouse, and we just look at the view, things like that. So people who have no knowledge,
Germans you met there.
So people who have no knowledge about gaming whatsoever, people who are not in there to, hey, can I play another game? They were just there to watch movies together, or work out. You could what could you do again? Tai Chi?
Yeah, you could do like Tai Chi, you could do meditation. Yoga, and the environment there was really nice. It was like a 360 of like a waterfall, really calming. You could sit on the edge and look over the waterfall, which was kind of cool, although it was static, right? It wasn't like a moving image. It did look very nice. But I think the thing is,
I still think that they could, like, if they would indeed go with that more aggressive scheme of charging users per month, that a lot of people would just forget about like the hardware and like the flaws with that, and
I do agree.
But that's the funny part. I was asking these people about the hardware, so like, what do you think about it? And they didn't mind any of it. They were like, I'm just in here and it's great. Well, I'm of course like, oh, the van and this and that. Even the hand tracking. So what do you think of the hand tracking? Oh, it's very nice. It can do thumbs up, this and that. Well, it's the most basic hand tracking you can ever have. So for the like, the thing is, they would only complain about, I found it really hard to friend someone or do this. So they're on a different level. So even this hardware would do the trick for people. Yeah. It's more about, can I find my friends inside this environment? Can I connect with them easily?
I think for us that are in the VR bubble, obviously we wouldn't be interested in a product like this, but for the casual consumer that just wants to connect and isn't maybe necessarily aware of what else is available on the market, they might pick something like this up. But personally speaking, obviously I wouldn't recommend the headset at all. I wouldn't suggest anyone goes out and buys one like I did, just because I was curious. But I do think the XRSpace Manova World does have some potential there. And I think it would be smart for them, a bit like what Nathy kind of alluded to, was that kind of like to ditch the hardware, don't worry about that, and just kind of focus on getting it either on Steam or on the Quest platform. So then you open it up to like a much wider audience, and the hardware isn't necessarily your problem and is already established and works,
Yeah. And I would like to highlight that, what Facebook Horizon is doing right now is not the same as what they are doing here, because this is everything in one. You have your own home, you have your own garden, you have your own wardrobe, everything. Yeah. And from there you can explore all these worlds. Facebook Horizon is just another VRChat, another rec room. While Rec Room, of course, has, you have your own dorm room, and Facebook Horizon isn't that. It's not implemented within the system itself. Oculus Home is still a different instance than Facebook Horizon. Facebook Horizon is an app, is an application. So this just shows that everything, like the moment you jump in there, you're in your menu. That's the Oculus Home menu of the XRSpace, your living room. And Mike can just come in and sit on the couch with me and watch some movies, and then go somewhere, As
a kind of like casual hangout, it was kind of cool, and it reminded me of that Oculus Rooms feeling of just hanging out. It obviously lacked the kind of casual board games and stuff that we enjoyed, but it had that kind of feel to it. But bringing it to another platform would be smart for them. But I should also mention as well, because originally when we talked about this months and months ago, Rowdy said, well, how are you going to do these emotions? How are you going to convey these emotions in VR with the hand tracking? And because the hand tracking is poor, you do have to kind of press through a menu of like emotions, so you can actually hug each other and kiss each other actually, which is kind of funny. We didn't try that, but you can do these kind of,
sure.
He wanted to do that. Mike was like, "Hey, should we kiss?" I'm like,
I did not say that. You try to expose me.
"No, it's true." He said that.
So you've got all these different emotions, but you have to access them through a menu.
Well, Sim's playing the video right now.
Yeah,
and that's how I did Gangnam Style, because I could stand next to the DJ and then dance. It was really funny. But I thought it was so awesome to be in there with Mike and just explore and be like, oh, what is this? Let's jump into the submarine. Where are we now? Oh, look, there's a shark here. And oh, we can play this little game. And there were like things to explore everywhere we went, you know? And yeah, it just really felt like one big world where you could spend time in. So
yeah, and they've got some interesting concepts for the future, you know, like having retail locations in like the town environment. So for example, you could go in and buy a t-shirt and then it would be physically delivered to your house, a bit like in Ready Player One. So they've kind of got these kind of high hopes for like an oasis, but it's definitely not there yet. Like it's rough around the edges and the hardware is bad. I wouldn't recommend, just to reiterate, I wouldn't recommend anyone buy one.
How many times are you going to say this? It's almost impossible to buy it anyways, because
it is
from Germany
I just want to be
Taiwan.
Clear. But it is nice just to try out another standalone VR headset that is available in the market that isn't necessarily just from Oculus. And that's why I think we're also excited about HTC coming to the market again with a standalone headset, but it does seem like it's going to be for enterprise. But nevertheless, it was interesting to try something different.
Software-wise, it does get close for sure. I mean, this was not bad at all, and yeah, as I said, very consumer-friendly, doing just one thing very well instead of trying to be everything at the same time.
For me, like
a shame of the price.
I wonder if there's a market here for, I don't know if you guys know the Doro phone. Like there's a phone that's really dumbed down. So if you're
Doro
like
phone?
if you're like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, whatever, it's for people with like poor eyesight, like large buttons on the
large
phone.
buttons.
You know,
like the
that type of
remotes as
thing?
well. You have those ginormous remotes as well with the giant buttons.
Yeah, so it's a phone that's designed that's like super basic, almost no functionality in it, you know, no web browsing or anything like that. And I'm just thinking of like a headset that doesn't require a tethering to your mobile, because right now all these mobile headsets appear to be that way. There's Mike peeking at us.
The podcast for the rest of the show.
For the audio listeners who are wondering, Mike's camera ran out of battery a little bit earlier, and so right now we're staring at Mike's VR headset equivalent. This is certainly a special version of the podcast.
We had a question from the chat actually. It was user ID saying, "Is this more like a Second Life world experience or a web social world like Active Worlds?"
Yeah, kind of like Second Life.
I'm not familiar with either of them.
I think the problem is that they've only got 3,500 active users right now, because like I said, you know, the rollout was very small, only in Taiwan and in Germany. They sold out almost immediately, and they sent a lot out to like press and stuff like that. Yeah. Interestingly, I think it was like the Mail on Sunday in the UK gave it like 5 stars. I don't know why. But
okay.
So yeah, it's a very small user base right now, but it has the potential to be like a Second Life, right? If it was brought to a bigger platform, I mean, Steam or Quest 2.
Yeah, true. Like the thing is, as I said before, I really believe in someone creating a headset that is just doing the social part very, very well. The concept is amazing and it works well, and I think people want to buy something like this. Like,
there is another company doing something very similar, and we touched on it a few episodes back, and it was the Unai One. Yeah. Again, same concept, built around a single social world. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they execute their vision of this, because
yeah.
It's an interesting concept.
So this is we could basically say this is a non-gamer headset, the first one of its kind, and it's going to, I think there is going to be one in the future that will sell well to consumers. I think it could be a hit. Yeah,
I do think just one challenge on the concept of them coming to another platform. So for example, if they decided to double down and then focus on coming to, let's say, Quest or Steam, whatever.
Yeah, but
I feel like they would end up getting outpaced by the platform owner.
Well, the thing is, for XRSpace, they should be doing this to kind of save their own asses. But if you have a really nice headset and you have a nice ecosystem, then you should keep it exclusive and you're not going to share it with anyone else. But for them, they have to kind of branch out, especially if you now made this hardware and it's not so great. So it's only for them a solution, but in the future, you could just keep it exclusive. I mean, we have if you have an iPhone, you use Messenger, right? And if you use an Android, you use something else. It's kind of the same thing. So I don't think they should be doing that, because if you have your player base, you don't have to do that, right? I mean, Facebook Horizon is also not on, Steam. Facebook Spaces used to be on Steam too. I don't know why they did that, but so I don't think that's going to be relevant in the future.
But I think the problem is that if they try and reiterate on the hardware, they'll have the same problem they have with this one. It will be superseded so quickly by the competition, who have infinite amount of money, which they don't have as this kind of small startup company. So it would be smarter for them just to focus on the software going forward. But we'll see what happens.
It just seems to me like you'd still be better off taking AltSpace or Rec Room, or if you're brave, VRChat, to try to connect. It just seems like a better, more open environment at a lower price at the moment. Yeah,
and I think as well, you've got to consider that when they brought this concept as an idea, I think a lot of those weren't as established as they are now.
Absolutely.
And that was, the market really has accelerated very quickly over the past 2 years, and they wanted obviously to be on the wave of it when it became popular, but they've almost became too late. That's the problem.
That's a fair point.
Problem that I have typically with these kind of apps is what you have once the novelty wears off a bit. It looks visually interesting and it's nice to meet up with people, but I often miss a little bit more the gaming aspect there, that you could play something stupid like ping pong with each other, or do a chess game.
Well, you can play. I mean, you could play basketball in there. You could play chess together. So there were games in there. And also some headmaster kind of type.
I saw that with the cannonballs and stuff. That was fun. I wonder if we were to repaint this though. If I was to recalibrate this, I would probably design a world that maybe the island or whatever, that environment was a little bit smaller, but would be free roam. You wouldn't have the loading barriers, even if it had to be a lot simpler, because that's a really important thing for me. And this ability to connect, I'd really dumb it down. I'd try to dumb it down as much as possible. I'd actually try to get rid of the tether to the phone if possible, and make it something that was kind of more all-in-one. Even the fact you guys mentioned this app support. How does that work? You mentioned Angry Birds and stuff. So they have a store. Is it Android-based or
it's Android-based. Okay. So they have a store in the headset. You can buy games.
Yeah, but those are pancake games. So you can then maybe you might be able to play them maybe in your living room. On the big screen?
No, they're VR games.
So they are VR games.
Yeah, it's Cloudlands and Angry Birds VR.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But that kind of lends me to believe that you could get stuff from itch and side-load it to the headset, for example, potentially.
I don't know. I could use Visor, which I use to capture the gameplay. So obviously that side loads to a certain degree onto the headset because it needs to install the app. So maybe it could use something like SideQuest, but I'd imagine SideQuest would have to adapt specifically to this headset, and also the fact that it's only got a 3DoF controller. Yeah, that's a problem.
Plenty of challenges there.
So it's an interesting concept. I'm glad we got to try it out because not many people have tried this. For me, it'll end up being a relic. I'm sure I'm going to open a museum in the future, VR museum. You're all welcome to come. I'll let you guys come for free. Okay. And I can showcase all these crazy weird headsets there. But is it XRSpace Manova headset and virtual world. Yeah. So now you can't see my face.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know why. I don't know about you guys, but this is a very strange.
This is a very odd social dynamic.
Suddenly I'm looking down at my table. I'm like, where's Mike? I don't know.
Do you still have that pillow mic that you can put in?
Oh yeah. Let me grab it. Your pillow. You have a pillow too.
I don't actually have one. I gave them all away.
That's what I was thinking. Mike doesn't have his own, because you could just put your hand up, put your hand up Mike's face, and then just waggle it on screen every time he talks, and then we can actually look at that.
Just do the face hand like this.
Yeah, I'll talk like this. So this is my hand, and this is me talking. So now we're going to hand it over to Zim for the latest releases this week.
The best transition ever. That was awesome. All right, releases. I'm back in the seat, so let's start off with something fun and maybe unexpected. All right, so Once upon a time, there was a game called Vector Velocity, and now another studio has come out with Velocity Vector. Well, what is this? Think about Trackmania. Some of you will know the flat game Trackmania, which is a kind of a crowd racing game where you're trying to get to the end as quickly as possible. Now, this has one of the most bizarre mechanics I've seen in a game. It is bungee rope controls. Okay, bungee rope controls on a frustrating drift hell racer. Okay, I wanted to come back strong. This is Velocity Vector. Now, for $15 or £12 about, this dropped in the middle of the week on the 11th of March, and this is mental. The vehicles also have no brakes. Tracks have no checkpoints, and you are always drifting. The other thing is you have 3 different vehicles. One is like a pod racer. You have like a mech, like a micro mech that you can go, and then there's a third one which I think is like a race car. But this whole thing is just like totally nuts.
Dude, this looks amazing.
Yeah,
like imagine this being like an online multiplayer where you can race against your friends. I don't know, man. This looks great.
And therein lies the sour ointment, right? Because unfortunately, the biggest downside is that it's a single player game.
Yeah.
But it looks nice. It actually has a kind of like a grapple tournament look to it. But having watched some gameplay, I would say it is. And I coined it this way: it is a frustrating drift hell racer. Like, it is going to piss you off because every little interaction, you have to learn the course from end to end. So it's a bit like Trackmania that way. But if you like Trackmania and you don't mind restarting, then that's great. But yeah, no brakes. This freaking weird bungee system, which looks like Windlands like crossed over with Wipeout. Very strange.
So instead of a steering wheel, you have to pull ropes and then control your vehicle.
It's so bizarre. And again, I like talking about Steam user reviews, and I found this wonderful little snippet from Steam user Alan61333. On some parts of the track, it's like riding a bar of soap on a wet floor. And on other parts, it's like flying a Zeppelin or a spaceship. It can also feel like riding a robotic donkey jumping over gaps in platforms.
Wow.
I mean, this game is special. I didn't want any of you to miss it. Again, $15, £12, Velocity Vector. If you're into, bust your balls racers, then check that one out.
But the reviews are overall positive.
It's I'd say 4 to 5 stars equivalent, on Steam.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not getting lots of negative reviews. Some people are saying there's a few like visual bugs that hitches that happen as you're going. But this is their release.
Well, I mean, you can say whatever you want, but we usually get another wave shooter where you have to shoot sheep, zombies, dinosaurs, what else? Sharks. In your case, you love sharks, right?
Love the sharks.
But this is unique. This is unique. This is something different we haven't seen before. So totally welcome.
It's funny. Onikaze in the chat says, "Now this is pod racing."
yeah.
Actually, that's one of the most disappointing pieces for people who are playing this game, as they've said. This isn't the pod racer that I wanted. I have to say though that having just played Vox Machina a week or two ago, like seeing the mech that they've got, like hopping between platforms, it just does something to my brain. I do want to try this. I do want to try this mechanism and see what that's like drifting around corners. So that is Velocity Vector. Now next up.
Okay.
A little bit of a total different beast here. We've got a game that some of you may have already played. It's getting re-released on Quest now. It's called Flow Weaver. So this is a Quest title. $20, £15 roughly. This is from Stitch Media. And this is sitting somewhere between like Myst and The Room. Okay, so it's a multi-dimensional VR room escape title. The puzzles are meant to be pretty punishing. I've seen complaints of people saying, I wish I had more clues or tips or whatever. But, hardcore puzzlers like Mike, I'm sure, will turn up their nose at those who don't like hard puzzle games. And this one requires some lateral thinking. So those with, an appetite for puzzlers, you should apply here. There's magic in the game, 7 dimensions, and I won't say much more about it. You're going to be solving puzzles in a pretty environment. People say that the graphical, side of it, where you're in these castles and various arrangements, is very pretty. And this is now available on Quest. So
This seems like one of those titles that could really like benefit from like hand tracking. Do you know if they have that implemented?
it's not got hand tracking, no. But I agree with you, Rowdy, from the look of it, because it's that kind of puzzle game. It's relatively slow paced. It wouldn't be frustrating to be moving pieces around. And actually, people were comparing it to The Room and saying it was less interactive than The Room is, and that was a little bit frustrating for some. So, it's a VR game. Flow Weaver also, I should mention, was out on PC VR in the latter half of 2020. So on Steam, if you want to buy it.
Is this room skill? Because the trailer, the guy is only sitting on a chair all the time. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a good question. I did pick up, there were a couple trace comments about people rearranging their rooms, particularly for this game, but I didn't get the vibe from the trailers and the gameplay that I watched.
Standing.
That it was.
It's a standing experience as far as I know, what I've seen.
Can't comment on that, sorry.
Okay.
Nathan, I can't confirm or deny.
So there you go. I like the look of this one, though. I like the look of this.
I figured you might.
Being a puzzler fan.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we don't really get enough of them. Like, if you're really, really into puzzles, then that's the way it is. Yeah, keep him waggling there whenever he's commenting. All right, Nathan, that's
The chat is asking if you have a mirror that you can angle.
A mirror.
A mirror.
Just like set up an elaborate array of mirrors. Yeah, sure. I should have some juice near the end of the show, so I should be able to turn it back on again.
Yeah, that's all good.
If you miss my beautiful face.
We're getting it. We're getting it. Nathan's keeping us nice in check with that. So, all right. So a couple other mentions that I wanted to say for things that are coming out. And first off, I ran across a recommendation on Steam, and I'm not going to show this. I'm just going to say probably don't play this, but I like mentioning free things. And this is what caught my eye for you Steam users, so I apologize. But it was launched in December last year. It's called 2020 The Ride, and it looks just atrocious. So Steam users, that's your free shout out for the week. I do warn you though, don't. That's why I'm not showing it. On the Oculus side, we have a couple of things that are landing that are actually quite interesting. So Echo VR, for those of you who still play Echo, is getting a free battle pass. So you can actually unlock some pretty nifty looking armor, suits and stuff like that, like the chassis that you've got. And this looks pretty neat. So it's kind of an upgrade system. And it's got a bunch of rewards in this season. So you can actually customize your player. I think this is something that if you're an esports lad or lassie, this is really going to be interesting to you, because actually the models that we're running in the trailer look pretty slick. So this is running during the current season. That's the Echo VR.
How long is this game around? And now they have a battle pass.
Yeah.
Why is this happening at this moment?
It's a bit weird. Like, I mean, it's coming after we've seen Solaris do that at the tail end of last year, for instance. Gave you kind of additional cosmetic enhancements.
But I mean, Solaris just launched, right? They're new games.
Yeah, and this is what people are saying. They're saying like, why not bring Echo Combat? Because like, those who have played Echo Combat, it's a great, like, almost Team Fortress 2 style combat game. You can play it on PC right now, but you can't play it on Quest. So certainly I'm looking forward to that. But why they're doing it, I don't understand.
I mean, the player base is huge, so there's a lot money to be made, but still now,
timing is bizarre, isn't it?
Timing is strange.
Bit of a
strain. Also, you mentioned that the Battle Pass is free. There is a premium version of the Battle Pass, which is $10, and you unlock more stuff.
Yeah. Thanks. Additional cosmetics. That's actually kind of similar to the Pop 1 mechanism that they've rolled out recently, if you know that game. So the last thing, and obviously the best news I think that we have today to share with you has to be that, like Nathan was hinting at earlier, we have an enormous number of titles that have all of a sudden gotten through the gates, landed on App Lab, and our recent favorite game of the year, Gorilla Tag, is now available. So for those of you who can't be arsed with side loading and all that, now you can monkey around and get in there with App Lab. The easiest way that I personally think to get in there is applab.games. That's a URL. So just type applab.games into your browser, scroll down, and you'll see a bunch of other games as well, in addition to Gorilla Tag. Gorilla Tag is a great fun multiplayer game where you're hopping around trees and basically playing tag like you did back in school. And the other games that I would recommend just from this week, things that that are interesting in there, there's a kind of a survival on a raft game called Oceancraft. There's Gun Raiders, Guardians VR, and V Speedway Alpha. Like I was tickling your fancy potentially earlier with that other racing game. And I think V Speedway Alpha is a pretty cool implementation on Quest. I've side quested that myself before, and I would recommend trying that out. But finally, we're seeing stuff coming from App Lab, down onto the headset now.
I know, and it's they're allowing a lot. It's like it's almost now trying to outpace SideQuest already with this start. It's going faster and faster. It's gonna be a while before that happens, but I mean, you can see that they want App Lab games to be the main thing to go to if you want to try something experimental.
Exactly, and I think that the folks at SideQuest and the other websites out there that are currently featuring this have a challenge, because right now we're starting to see, stuff is going to start to get lost in the mess, right? You got more than 50 App Lab games now on there, so you're going to want to filter, look for puzzle games, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to filtration coming, and also being able to easily identify what's new, because right now it all just gets kind of thrown in there based on reviews. Yeah. So
apparently,
that's it. Go ahead.
Apparently, Gorilla Tag had over 1,000 concurrent users recently, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I saw it actually, and it's going to go insane with this. Like I'm actually worried for Lemming. Whatever the serving costs are for that game, like that is centrally serviced at the moment. He's not charging for it. He's going to have to, and I hope he does. I hope he charges a $5 or something for it, because it absolutely deserves the money.
Definitely. He said actually that because he obviously never anticipated that it was going to blow up like it did. He said one of the biggest mistakes he made was not putting in some sort of payment process just for people to donate to the cause. Even if they just enjoyed the game, donated a couple of pounds, it would help his server costs and development fees.
Yeah.
So hopefully he implements that soon.
This
I'm
game,
sure plenty of people want to support him.
Yeah, but this game needs to be official. This
I
game
agree.
needs to be on the front page of the store. I want it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the mid step, but the final step is being next to Population 1 as a suggested game.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm back.
I absolutely want to see it too, Nathan. I do, because I think it just makes a lot of sense. So recap on those games just to wind us up. Velocity Vector was the racing one. Flow Weaver was the puzzle one. We had Echo VR with the new Battle Pass, and Gorilla Tag on the App Lab. So go check out again applab.games for a whole bunch of new things to toy around with on your Quest.
Do you guys think that, I mean, this is hard to predict, of course, but let's say in a year from now, of course, there are still people who are going to use SideQuest, but will most, let's say, new consumers still know that that's a thing? Because if you see how fast games are getting approved now, there will be a moment where just they have almost everything on the store as well. Of course, SideQuest will always have a few that are not going to make it on there, but is it enough to make people go to their platform instead? That's what I start to wonder.
Definitely Virtual Desktop was a big blow for them. Losing that exclusivity to SideQuest was a big blow for them.
That's a big one, yeah.
But, with the Dr. Beef mods and stuff like that, I'm sure there'll still be people, and Beat Saber mods, I'm sure there'll be still people using SideQuest.
Yeah, I think indeed, exactly like Mike, like what you bring up, I think that the modded community will always have a huge advantage using SideQuest. So they're both smart people. I think if they continue to innovate and try to stay ahead of the game, then I think I see a lot of potential still for SideQuest.
The reason why it matters still, in my opinion, is there's no gate. There's very, very little gate, right? Apps like SLR aren't allowed on there right anymore, but there's almost no gate between the developer and releasing that content. Whereas having to submit it to Oculus, wait the time, get it through the QA, out on App Lab, there's still a sufficient process.
Sales-wise, it's a big benefit for devs to be on there, even if they have to wait it out. It's just that I feel like they are now decreasing this urge of wanting more from another third-party website, because there's so much to play. At some point, the consumer will not even think about, because first we had the Quest and we only had its library, and then we had SideQuest, and you had to use SideQuest as almost an extension of your library, because Oculus didn't have enough content to offer you. But with this whole App Lab thing, it now goes so fast that you get 3-4 games a week now, new games.
Yeah. But I think it's down to developers. Like it's like when we had Shane on the show.
Yeah.
Developers will have to make the choice. Do they go for SideQuest and take the payment through itch.io and get like 90 to 100% of the revenue?
And the difference is huge. I mean, the Oculus platform outpaces everyone else. There is no option there. It sounds like an option, but there is no option.
Well, but just might be clarify. It's 70% they take on Oculus platform. Oculus take 30% of the.
You can blame Apple for that. You remember when they launched their App Store and they're like 70-30 split?
Standard on Steam as well.
Standard.
And PSVR.
But, I know.
Go on, Ray.
It might be a good idea just for developers to like maybe test the concept already. Like if they have like one level or they have something ready or something done, to test that concept already on SideQuest to see like how users there like it before they start, investing more money into bringing it fully to the App Store. I think there's always ways for SideQuest to like, to keep alive as long as they, they stay in contact with those developers and bring in those kind of concepts.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a sort of rapid prototyping platform, it's great for that. You're getting community feedback, which is invaluable. And previously, a lot of developers would pay money for that sort of feedback. It is great for that as well. I do agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So I think what we'll do is, because we're running a little bit early, or should I say normally on time, because we.
You sure you want to do this with your battery?
I'm praying, but I just wondered if you've got any questions for us. Maybe now we can answer just a couple of questions before we wrap up the show. So I'll reiterate the show times. Just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. And if you've enjoyed the stream this week, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for all our future VR podcasts. So let's go. There were some questions in the chat. One that I picked up on earlier, something about asking about the X40 haptic vest from bHaptics. Do we think it's worth it? It's kind of one of those toys that, it's nice to have. It's super expensive though for what it is. It's like what, $500 for the X40, $300 for the X16. So they are coming down in price, which is great to see. But it is kind of still one of those things that you can't use in every VR game. You have to wait for developer support to really get the most out of it. And sometimes that developer support only comes in the form of mods, like in Population 1, for example, which I thought was awesome with the vest. Yeah. But sadly, we have to rely on like devs like Big Box to implement it natively, which isn't coming yet. But I'm sure that will change over time.
Yeah, there's some beautiful things in here. Yeah.
Does AppLab allow developers to sell keys on their own, bypassing the 30% fee?
There was a lot of confusion around this, and I'm still pretty confused about it because initially there was sort of rumors saying that they could sell off the platform, and then in the Oculus policy it directly conflicted with itself saying they couldn't, and I can't remember what the final outcome was, unfortunately, to say. So apologies, I don't have an answer for that.
Well, that was a part of the plan, that you just don't know anymore what the real answer was.
What is real life?
Yeah,
I don't even know anymore.
I would find it surprising that
plan.
You would be able to bypass that 30% fee, but as soon as you get to the official store, then you need to pay a 30% fee. Would be weird, no?
It would be weird.
Well,
yeah. So what were some other questions they had? Let's see.
That's it.
People saying that they can use sign language. Yeah, and also someone a good suggestion from the chat. 1976 Battle to Midway is also on AppLab, which looks pretty cool. That was the one where the planes kind of come in.
I've played it.
Through VR.
I've played it. It's okay. I'd say it's one of those things that conceptually is better than playing it, but it's worth trying. I don't think you would spend more than half an hour with it though, before kind of going away.
Go ahead.
No, that's all.
So there was two questions. There was, will any of you host the VRChat show in Rec Room?
VRChat show.
I don't know. Is that a separate podcast? I'm not sure. But we've toyed with the idea of doing like this podcast in another sort of medium, whether it be VR format. Yeah. We could try that in the future. Like, it would be kind of interesting if we did all get face trackers and body trackers.
Yeah, I'm not getting
did a full like show.
Yeah, I remember about 2 years ago, we're like, oh yeah, let's all get green screens. And we'll.
That was a bad idea.
Desk-space thing. It was just fun, but it led me down the route of getting 2 green screens.
That's true.
Yeah, and a green spandex suit too. Sadly.
Well, that was not your guys' fault. That was my wife's fault.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
A question
was our fault? You bought 2 of them?
No, I just made it. It led me on to green green screens, which is a horrible plague. If any
That's
creator,
what you told your
know.
wife. I got it. I got it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
They do an XL version now, a huge version that you can mount on the ceiling and pull down.
Excellent.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know what
did
it's
not
called.
that. That's cool.
But it's a big like Elgato green screen thing.
That's very cool.
Jeffrey Goodman, long supporter of the show, asks, can he get a mic pillow 3D model to use in VRChat?
What?
Probably, yeah, like,
To use?
I could probably arrange that if you really want to. Like, I could probably make that happen.
I'm promising you, Mike, I'm still going to sell your face on eBay. I am going to sell that pillow, and I'm just going to make bank with it, you know?
Do it.
I'll have to cut you in for some of your
He
profits.
didn't sign it, sadly. That's
I didn't even keep one for myself, sadly. I should have done.
Mine is always on the staircase, so when I go down or up, I always see Mike's face first.
He gives me a high five every time he goes up and down the stairs.
Mine's in the attic.
That's
It
what
kind of
your
creeps
face.
me out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way. High five in the face. Anyway, right, we should wrap up the show now then.
Sounds good.
Thank you for joining in this Thank you for joining us this week. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you to the audio listeners as well. We really appreciate you all. And of course, we'll be back with more VR news next week. And hopefully I get to try out the Vive trackers and the facial tracker this week. So
Yeah, that should be
give you our
fun.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, very good.
So until then, have a great week in VR and bye-bye for now. See you later.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.